Guys, welcome to the Departure Lounge. Today I have a special guest, really cool business. We have Lee Barkalow. Today's guest is the co-founder of Curent Group, a global experience agency based in Los Angeles and London. Current specializes in creating hyper-personalized, seamless moments from front row Fashion Week access and VIP vineyard dinners to space launch viewings and bespoke corporate retreats. Since launching in 2019, Current Group has delivered over 2,500 unique experiences, addressing the gap between promised luxury and delivered reality with integrity and operational precision. Lee, welcome to the lounge.
Cool. Great to be here, Steven. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man. So, I saw you guys. I know you have offices in LA and London. How does that do you bounce around between those, and how does that influence your guys' style?
Yeah, so we opened up a law office in London in 2025, so about a year ago, a little over a year ago, so 2024 actually. Yeah, we were doing just a considerable amount of business over in Europe, and a little bit further as well, kind of starting to branch into the Middle East. And it was really just that time zone difference starting to kill, I think, everybody from our headquarters out here in LA. So the next logical step was us opening an office in London. Yeah, so that's allowed us to, we were already working with a lot of the events over in Europe, the UK, etc., and spanning out a little bit from there. But now it's really cut down that time in terms of like turnaround time, boots on the ground now. We have brick and mortar over there, so becoming just really integrated in the European market, which has been a great learning curve. But yeah, we spent a lot of time out there, which is really great. I love London, so
Yeah.
that was kind of a no-brainer for us.
Hey, you founded the company in 2019, right?
Correct.
Nice. And so how did you get into that business and how has it led to where you guys are now?
Yeah, so I actually started out in the music industry in the agency world. So I started at Paradigm in the music department, and then moved over to WME and was working in music there. I think what really what ended up happening was I quickly realized how that industry just the currency is favors. Everyone, you do me this favor, I do you this favor. There's no transactional, occurrences happening, but
Hmm.
that's available to 0.01% of the world.
Yeah.
And so that was back in 2000 and gosh, when was that? 2013, maybe? Yeah, just around 2013, 2014.
Okay.
So that I think at that point I was realizing that the agency model just wasn't for me. Obviously it's a successful business plan, but it just wasn't my what I was like drawing my attention. So I decided, there's a business to be had here. 99% of the world wants what this 1% has. That's a pretty
Right.
great pool of clients. So I branched off at that point actually created a separate company that was similar to what we do now, different in its approach, quite different in its approach, but at that time started a different company with this in mind, leveraged my relationships and started to target high net worth to ultra high net worth clients. In 2019 I exited out of that company and then started this one, which has been our focal point moving forward. Yeah. And so, we started in LA, HQ'd out here, built out really fast, and then set our eyes on London. And then we've kind of keep pushing out east, I think, in the next couple of years.
Nice. Cool. And I gave you a whole intro, but you tell us in your words like what it is that you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, look, we do very elevated experiences for whether it's a bucket list experience or if it's just something that you're really into. It's really every type of vertical of entertainment. So it's sports, it's music, it's fashion, it's culinary, it's food and wine, it's really everything, whether it's just attending an event just because you really want to go, or if it's fully crashing through that glass ceiling and putting together a fully curated experience that is just once in a lifetime fingerprint type of a thing. we're doing that for every vertical out there in the entertainment space.
What's one of the wildest requests or things you put together for a client?
It's funny. Yeah. I definitely get asked that question a lot. I always like to say, it's sort of in the eye of the beholder. What may be really cool to me might not be so cool to somebody else, and vice versa. One thing that we're working on right now, and I'll leave the talent's name out of it just for privacy purposes, but he is the goat of tennis. So I think everyone kind of like circulate around on where that lands. But anyway, we're doing a fully private hitting lesson with this individual, and like they get an hour long session with this person to if you're a big tennis fan, which seems like the world is these days, that's an incredible experience. You get to have a one-on-one with one of the greatest players to ever touch the court. And I as a tennis fan, as a tennis player, that's unrivaled. So that's something that's really timely, that's happening right now. But the list is long for sure.
Are there any that have been super difficult to put together?
Yeah, I mean, we just did one actually recently, again, Wimbledon, or tennis related. So, but it was around Wimbledon. We had a client of ours that wanted to propose to his to his then girlfriend, and so we ended up getting them into the tournament with these amazing seats. That an ex-pro tour 'em around the venue. They got to go over to the players' practice courts, meet a bunch of the players, and then we took them over to center court about 2 hours before match started. So they had the whole place to themselves pretty much. Um, and he was able to propose to his girlfriend at that time, which that was a difficult one to pull off, to get Wimbledon to like give us the thumbs up to pretty much shut it down for us.
Right.
That was just really cool. That was special. She said yes, so that was good. Ended up well. So
Yeah, that's a pretty cool proposal idea. Nice. Um, so I know earlier you mentioned that, some of these things when you were in the agency space of like the music industry, that things are like favor based and things like that. I assume some of the stuff you guys are doing now still gets into that. So how does that work when you're trying to scale this company and do things like for a wider audience?
yeah, I mean, great question. But so I look at it as in we've transitioned away from that pretty heavily. That's been a major focus of ours. So the favor model is very limited. It can only really do one or two things for you at a time, or really it in its lifespan. So we've transacted it into a financial approach where we are approaching the teams. We have the relationships. A lot of people, I always like to say, there's a lot of money in the world. It's not always about the money, it's about the relationships that you have with talent, team, venue, sports team, whatever it is. They trust us. They understand that the value that we bring, the clients that we bring, are very high caliber. So we've been able to scale out because of those relationships. We
Mhm.
come to them with actual opportunities for whether it's the team or the talent to capitalize on in a safe and secure way. So they're able to like scale out for us. Now, scale and what we do, because of how
Yeah.
exclusive it is, isn't, I wouldn't say, like the scale that a lot of people are thinking, where it's 10, 20,000 experiences a year. It's much tighter than that. So scale for us is, it could be 1,000 experiences a year, but they're very high caliber, and they're extremely, high touch in that
Yeah.
essence.
Yeah. Okay. Who are your normal clients? Like corporate groups, individuals? What is it?
Yeah. Yeah, we run both verticals. So we work with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, a lot of companies that you would know, just in like household name companies, and then a ton of high net worth individuals, all the way from obscure individuals who just either have landed into a lot of money, have family money, they've made a lot of money, all the way to those high net worth individuals that you would recognize their names, but we've realized, and I think they know this as well, is that they could go and get these things on their own through a favor, but as I've said before, favors are limited. It's a limited commodity. my opinion, I think that they're waiting to use that for something a little bit more valuable. So
Hmm.
people come to us for that, and we fill their requests based off of what they want, and yeah, so it runs the gamut.
Yeah.
The unheard of to the heard of to the Fortune 500s to the I've never heard of this company in Kansas before type of thing.
That's cool. What's the typical journey for a client coming in and working with you guys, like from the beginning? Like, how do they find you all the way to the end?
Yeah, referral basis for us is huge. I would say, that the world of clients that we work in is small. So word of mouth is massive for us. I breaking into those worlds is hard on its own. I think we've got a great reputation, so that really helps us drive that needle through. But yeah, a lot of it is, look, we've been doing this for many years now, so our client pool is pretty large at this point, but it's them referring their companies, their friends, their family. They come in, we lean heavily on that 6 degrees of separation from anyone in the world model. And it's proven really successful for us.
That's cool. Yeah, so then what's the next step, like after they find you?
Yeah. So after they find us, we basically have like an onboarding program with them. So they come in. By the way, like we don't charge a fee for what we do on like a yearly. It's just per instance. So in my
Okay.
opinion, keeps us on our toes. If we don't supply a great experience, I don't think you're really going to come back and use us again. So it really forces us to just be 110% every single time. So a new client comes in, we have an account executive onboard them. We break down, obviously where you from, where do you travel to, where do you spend most of your time, family members, ages, likes, dislikes, verticals of entertainment that interest you. And then once we have your profile built out, that's kind of when the fun starts to place in. So yeah, so then we look at the everyday, because I'm not going to neglect like just the everyday stuff that's happening. So if you're a big basketball fan and you live in LA, chances are you're either going to like the Clippers or the Lakers. So I'm not going to, our team's not going to ignore the fact that those teams are going on and only focus on the craziest things we could possibly come up with. We'll do both. So it's learning who they like, what they like, how they like it, and then saying, okay, you're going to the Lakers game. We've sent you there. How do you feel about your kid being a ball boy pre-game? How do you feel about meeting the team afterwards? Is your son or your daughter or whoever a big basketball fan, and the fact that they want to do like a private lesson with one of the players. So we try to like have them see the scope of the world just in a different view.
Okay. Nice. How many people are on your team?
Right now we've got seven, or sorry, eight out here in LA. And then in London, we've got three in London. We're adding, I think, another two in the next 2 months. So
Uh,
slowly building out. I think we are purposefully a tight team. I think
It's like a
definitely,
hard hard to get hired here.
yeah, we like to hire very specific people. I think it's a specific
Yeah.
mindset that goes into it as well.
Right, right. Are they become like everybody that comes in, are they assigned with one person and then they go all the way through with that person, or how does it work?
Yeah. So, for example, if you were my client, you and I would create a personal relationship in that aspect. So, you know, whatever your form of contact is, that's how we communicate, whether it's like text, email, phone call, whatever. Um, and we get to know each other. That's pretty much the major forward facing aspect of our company. So I would handle everything from A to Z from you. You have a direct person the entire time. You're never like bounced around from person to person. That way, it's like your person at our company. That's the way that we've structured it.
I like it.
Yeah.
This is a super unique business. Are you guys competing with anybody who's doing something? Are you guys considering like the way that you do things? Like, does it set you aside from? Can you tell us like how you're special, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, look, of course there are competitors to what we do. I think we approach it in a very unique way. I think there are you know, our industry is very, I would say, fractionalized. There's a new company popping up, I would say once a month, that's saying, I can do this, I can do that. And you know what? Like, there's a good chance they can do one or two of the things that they're saying, or maybe they can. I always like to use the example of, like, everybody knows Taylor Swift. Because, like, it's just like, but depends how many layers are you actually removed from the talent. And so that's sort of where we specialize, and what makes us different from everybody else. I'm not going to say everybody in the world that we're different in that aspect, but I think I would say, in that top threshold where we do have the direct connection. It's either direct or we're one removed. And for our aspect, that's sort of what makes us special. We have an amazing turnaround time. We have a direct connections. The way that we uphold ourselves with our clients, I don't think really is touched by any other company out there. Our clients are number one for us always. So if something goes wrong, we go above and beyond to make it right. It's not the StubHub model of, like, here's your money back, go on your way. It's,
Yeah.
something went wrong, as much of a fluke as that is, like, we take ownership of it. Are we comping your tickets? Of course. Are we upgrading you? Of course. Like, what else can we do to make this right? Because this is not how we operate. There is, there's a bit of a black cloud in the world of, like, tickets and experiences and all this, where people are constantly dubious of somebody trying to rip them off, that we have to deal with. But I think we've done a pretty great job of keeping that at, like, arm's length distance, and creating a whole new vertical of trustworthy and stand up individuals who deliver on what we provide our clients.
Okay. Yeah. And let's get into the business a little bit more. If you guys are, could you point out, or is there anything you guys are working through as far as challenges that you recently overcame, or things that you're working on in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I would say one of the biggest challenges that we faced in the last couple of years was, of course, COVID. And thankfully, we've gotten out of that, and really made some great strides in that aspect. But
Did
look,
everything
one of the
boom after that, after the COVID period?
yeah, oh my God, yeah. I mean, I think everyone was ready to get out and do stuff.
Everybody went to travel space.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, 2023 onward has just been like a mega boom,
Yeah,
which is great. And we're happy to do it to
yeah.
all of our clients. Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges is kind of what you addressed in the beginning, which was, how do people find out about us? How do people know that these types of things are possible to even ask for? Now I will say that challenge has definitely become easier in the last couple of years. I think people are becoming smarter and more in tune with the fact that things are possible. Um, and that's also created a separate challenge for us that we've had to pivot for. So, for example, there are a lot of companies out there that now prepackage and cookie cutter these VIP experiences that didn't before, in order to capitalize on that scalable VIP experience. So, that prior to that, there wasn't really a competing essence to our model. Once that was implemented from these larger companies, it made it a little bit less special. Anybody could buy it, everybody was doing it. It didn't really make it that fingerprint experience. So our pivot was, okay, like, how do we now move away from that again? How do we create a newer, more exclusive experience for our clients? Do we make it, whether it's just more expensive and less of those, or do we just create a whole new vertical of those? So these are challenges, obviously, that we're looking at every single day. We're expanding into new territories. The Middle Eastern market is just exploding, and it is super wild west out there right now. Where I would say, the U.S. market is pretty structured. It's got a little things here and there, but, like, it's really controlled. The European market, I think, is, I would say, I don't know, 3 to 5 years behind where the US is in terms of structure and accountability and rigidness. And then the Middle East, there's just, you know, they're just starting, like, concerts over there that allow both men and women in. There's,
Yeah.
massive soccer clubs now being populated with big names being pulled over from European clubs, etc. So it's just creating this massive opportunity, but in that same essence, it's really Wild West. So, and we're trying to tame that and figure out how to approach that. While not losing focus, obviously, on our North American market and our European market. So
Is that
it's a
something
fun challenge.
people are looking for stuff over there more and more?
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people coming from the Middle East again to Europe and North America, but a lot of people. I wouldn't say a lot of people traveling in that destination like they do Europe and North America is starting to pick up more, but a lot of the people that are in the Middle Eastern countries now have stuff to do on a little bit more regular basis than they did before. So it's just starting to pick up. The volume's getting more and more out there, but navigating that whole environment is right now a challenge, but it'll grip and
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. So
Yeah. And do you guys build systems? And I'm assuming like the US, you guys have down pat everything, and probably Europe too. Are you building systems around the processes that you guys have and making it easier and simpler for your company? Whereas in like maybe if you're in the Middle East, somewhere in Dubai, you're doing something different and just trying to piece things together right now.
yeah, I mean, it's the great thing about what we do, but also the big challenge about what we do is there are so many events and they're kind of always changing and pivoting and morphing into something else. And then somebody wants to do this, and then but this person wants to do it this way. And like, so is there a system where we try to create like controlled chaos? Yes, but is there some form of chaos at all times? Yes, there is. I like to call it controlled chaos in the simple way, but I look at it almost as that's sort of the draw to what we do. It's fun, it's different every day. I wake up and we've got big corporate clients of ours that are either rolling out this whole new incentive or they're needing this for a corporate retreat, or we've got a new client that wants to do this for his family, or I mean whatever it is, and they're all different. Everything's super super hyper focused on what their likes and needs are. So I mean I will tell you it's never a boring mundane day
Yeah.
to start.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like a rewarding business, right? It's you're getting to solve new problems all the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, we get to provide somebody something that they really, really want. So that's really fun. But sometimes that challenge just on its own of figuring, it's like honestly, just figuring out how to do something sometimes, I would say, look, we're very, very connected, but I'm not going to stand on a pedestal and say, hey, I know everything and I know everybody. That would be silly. Nobody does. So sometimes it's just figuring out, oh my gosh, this person wants to do this with this person and at this time, and you're like, oh my gosh, how do we do that? And then figuring that out and then coming to the finish line and being like, having that rewarding feeling of, sorting that out for them. Obviously that they're happy, we're happy, everyone wins in the end, but there's a lot of rewarding routes to take with what we do.
Aside from like you guys are expanding to the Middle East, what does the future look like for Current Group?
Yeah, I mean, so one of my big things that we're really focusing on here is kind of going back to what I mentioned earlier, which is our industry at the moment is very fractionalized. People don't really know where to go for what I would call like true access.
Mhm.
So a big marketing push for us on top of a big like structural change for us is showing people and where to go and what to avoid, really. So structurally for us is trying to get people to come together. So companies that maybe it's a company that's really good in just this one vertical and this other vertical, but together we're much stronger. So for us right now, an ideological and organizational push is I'm trying to absorb as many small, reliable companies together under the TCG banner, the Curent Group banner, that can provide our clients, that extra level special access that maybe we just didn't have before, or maybe we were that 1 degree of separation before, but now we're that direct that direct relationship. And this smaller company that's got 2 or 3 people working at it, maybe they've been doing it for 10 years and they're just experts at it. So we want them to be part of our team. So that's a big movement for us right now.
So looking for new partnerships.
Yeah, bringing in partnerships. How can we absorb people into our company, whether it's through, true partnership or we acquire them or, we're looking at everything right now, basically.
Can you give me an example of like what one of those specific partnerships might be or the style of their business?
Yeah. Well, so I would say, right now we would be approaching, so in the UK, we're approaching a new company that we've worked together for a long time. And that would be more of like a true partnership style
Yeah.
where they have, and we're in the middle of it right now. So, I can't mention any like specifics, but, they really, really specialize in doing like the private performances. So, they're out there booking, Maroon 5 for a backyard private birthday, or they're doing, I don't know, Coldplay on a yacht in the Mediterranean, and everything in between. But they're really those high dollar private performances with A-list bands, etc. So they run the gamut, obviously, with our, playing in the same sandbox of that's our demographic of clientele. We already are doing that, but they've been doing that on like way bigger scale and for a lot longer than we have. So, in our opinion, that's an added benefit for our clients. That's a service that we already provide, but not on the level that they do. And so, in order for us to provide the best service that we possibly can to our clients, we're going to bring that company in and say, "Hey, look, we've got a great system. We've got a scalable system set up. We've got a great team that provides, A to Z support. Come into the fold. Let's figure out how we can expand on what you're already doing. Maybe you can tap into what we do with your clients and vice versa. Or it's a two-way road in that partnership. So that's, I would say, one example that's really current right now.
Okay. 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 I got a thought-provoking question for you. If you could wave a magic wand and solve anything in your business right now, what would it be?
Oh man, if I could, I would love people to get back to me faster.
By
But
email?
I know that my urgency is not everybody else's urgency. So, I would love, I think sometimes, clients don't understand, and I get it. They don't understand that the talent has other things going on. And it's sometimes getting a response takes weeks sometimes. So if I could wave a magic wand and I could be the number one priority of everybody, that would be my
Sweet.
magic fix.
Yeah, I feel the same about my business too. Just, anything when you're being held up by communication, it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes we get an answer in a day or two, but like, maybe they're on set, maybe they're on tour, maybe they're, doing something with a brand that's taking a day or two or a week. I don't know. The list of things goes on and on. So
Yeah.
you just never know. But I would
I
love to fix that.
I have a friend that it does he has a med spa and he does IVs for certain high-end clientele and he was just doing something for a really popular country singer. He drove an hour and he was there, and I guess the communication was also kind of failed there. And he ended up waiting an hour and the guy, I guess, just got up from a nap and then he decided he doesn't want the IV anymore. So
No, no, no. It happens. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it happens. So,
Communication is key.
right. Okay, well, I ask everybody this at the end of the podcast. We can ask this and then we'll wrap up here. What are you excited about? It could be about your business, life, things you're doing in general.
Yeah, what am I excited about? I mean, it just seems like every year since COVID kind of, was put a little bit in our back mirror, it's just getting more exciting. There's just more things to do. I think people are getting more creative, which is making us have more fun with what we do. I'm very excited about, our expansion into the UK and Europe. We've been there for a year now, so we've like finally settled in, and now are ready to scale out and expand. So for us, that's really really exciting. I love spending time in Europe, so I try to get out there as much as humanly possible. That just gives me another reason, an excuse to get out there. So my wife and daughter don't mind either. They come with when they can. But yeah, I would say I'm most excited about that, and then to see how that, leapfrogs us into what I'm not sure is going to be our next location, but we're eyeing the Middle East, or we're eyeing somewhere in Asia, maybe. So, those are, I just would really love to cover the globe as much as humanly possible with those time zone coverages. So that's where I'm more excited about.
Cool. Exciting
Yeah.
stuff. Do you have anything like plugs you want to put or places they can reach you?
Yeah, you guys can definitely go to our website. That's probably the easiest way to reach out as a whole. So it's currentgroup.com, spelled with one R, CURENT group.com. Pretty easy to find where to contact us there. Feel free to check us out, see what we do. Maybe I didn't answer any of your questions. Hopefully I did cover everything, but I think the website goes into pretty good detail as to who we are, how big our team is, what we do, etc. And then reach out. We'd love to hear from you.
Amazing. Yeah, and I'll put all the links and stuff for your guys' company, your socials and stuff below too, so they can find it. But
Amazing.
awesome. Thank you so much, Lee. Anything else you want to say or all good?
I think that's it. Yeah. I mean, we'll let the imagination maybe pique their curiosity and they can come ask us some questions.
It sounds good. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate it.